In one of the world's oldest travelogues, Marco Polo described what he believed to be the fabled unicorn. He wrote, "'Tis a passing ugly beast to look upon, and is not in the least like that which our stories tell of being caught in the lap of the Virgin. In fact, it is altogether different from what we fancied." You see, what Marco Polo may not have realized was that unicorns can transform their shape, and however they appear to you, their purpose is to remind us of infinite possibilities. Well, I have the honor of working with an entire herd of unicorns, and they don't look like either one of those examples, but they have shared secrets with me that are filled with infinite possibilities. They've taught me that developing deep and meaningful connection with others is not only possible, but it's critical if we want to reach our full potential and live our best lives. These guys work with me in an equine-facilitated therapeutic riding program for children with a wide array of diagnoses. The riders and their parents often refer to the horses as unicorns because the results that we achieve can, quite frankly, seem pretty magical. But behind this magic trick is real science to back it up. Now, before I share their secrets with you, let me tell you a little bit about the physical aspects of therapeutic riding. During a session, the rider's spine, joints, and deep muscles are manipulated in a way that cannot be duplicated in a traditional physical or occupational therapy setting. In this demonstration, we've used tape to highlight the horse's movement and how it affects the rider's movement. I want you to notice the front and back movement of the hips and the torso, as well as the side-to-side movement. Now, because the horse's natural gait at a walk very closely mimics the human's natural gait, we're able to achieve this hip rotation during passive exercise, using unpredictable movements such as turning and stopping really isolates the core muscles. You can see this here in walking on as well. This is a terrific way to strengthen the abdominal muscles and develop balance. Dr. Monika Zadnikar is the chair of the Department of Physiotherapy at Slovenia's largest and oldest university. She's also an avid equestrian. She and research scientist Andre Castren conducted the very first meta-analysis of the effects of therapeutic riding. The results really weren't that surprising to us. It showed us and revealed that therapeutic riding is indicated to improve postural control and balance in children with cerebral palsy. We think that Luke's mom and dad would absolutely agree with that statement. So you can see that it's easy to understand why a rider with a physical disability may expect positive results. But what about a rider with a diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder or post-traumatic stress disorder? Why a horse? And how? And what does that have to do with each one of us here today? Because horses are hardwired for connection. We can all learn from them. As prey animals, they rely on each other just to survive. Now, as humans, we know that we need to be a part of a community in order to just really live our best lives. We've lost some of our instinct in that regard. However, by living our best lives, we know that we need to have deep and meaningful connections. I'm talking about really meaningful connections, the kind that really give us confidence, make us feel valued, and remind us that we are never alone in this world. How can that type of connection be ours? Well, it's as easy as A, B, C. Let's start with A, awareness. Obviously, when we're around horses, we need to be aware of our surroundings just to be safe. But we have to consciously flip that switch and open our eyes. And as important as it is to be aware of the world around us, it's equally important to be aware of the world that revolves inside of us. Self-awareness means that we really need to consider the impact of our intentions. Let me give you an example. Emily. When Emily started therapeutic riding at our center, she was so excited to be around the horses that she was completely unaware of her surroundings. Her self-awareness was really no more advanced. So we asked Emily to check in with the impact of her intentions. Because horses mirror our emotions, this is like we were asking Emily to look into an emotional mirror. If she didn't see the horse behaving in the way that she had anticipated, she just needed to alter the delivery of her intentions. Now, after a few short months of practicing this type of self-awareness, Emily developed a beautiful bond with her horse. We all started calling her the horse whisperer, and I'm really proud to share with you that she's now training to become a volunteer at our center. So awareness, the A in our ABC equation, is the starting point for knowing who we truly are. But it's also very important that we believe in ourselves. And that brings us to B, belief. Belief is the power source behind meaningful connection. This is where the improbable becomes quite possible. And I was raised on the thought that if you didn't truly believe in something, then why would you spend a lot of time and energy on it? When I was a little girl, my mom went back to school, and she was taking an art class. And her instructor told her, go home and carve something. Well, my dad loved to help us with our art projects. And so he said, I've got a block of balsa wood in the shed, and I'm ready to go. Let's get to work. But I specifically remember their conversation. Mom told him that the teacher said, balsa wood won't work. It's impossible. It will break. And, since she wanted him to get a good grade on her project, she asked if he would change the type of wood that he had selected. But Dad said, it is improbable that it would work, but it's possible, and I believe that I can do it. And he did. So, unfortunately, though, over the years, Dad's balsa wood project suffered a few chips on its horns. So maybe one day it might actually become a unicorn. This unicorn sparked a belief in me at a very young age that whatever I could do and set my mind to do, that I knew I could and I would do it. So I guess that you could say that the rhinoceros is my personal unicorn. Dad passed away when I was just a teenager. So on those rare and random occasions when I happen to see a rhinoceros, I feel like he's reminding me of the infinite possibilities that belief can create. And I got one of those reminders just a few months ago to believe as I was putting together my outline so that I could be here and speak with you today. I knew that everything I wanted to say was really important, and I wanted to include all of it, but was having a tough time condensing all of that into a 3-minute audition video. So I was getting frustrated, and to be honest with you, I was really doubting myself. So I put it all aside and took a break from it for a second and just thought, well, let me Google unicorns. And there it was, right in the middle of a plethora of pink and purple glitter and rainbows. Marco Polo's unicorn. Thanks, Dad. So far, we've discovered A, awareness, and B, belief. That's 2 of the secrets to meaningful connection. There's one more secret, and that is C, communication. Horses communicate with energy. They teach us to feel our communication with each other. We call this the language of equus. Now, it's really fun to talk about magic and mythical creatures, but it's really important to me that our work is valid. So I invited the president of KinderCare, which is America's largest early childhood educational corporation, to come and take a look at our program. Wei-Li Chong took KinderCare and he turned it around by using a people strategy, launching it into a very successful future. He's now the president of a leading global behavioral science corporation. So it's safe to say that he knows a little bit about communication. In order to prove that people can communicate effectively with energy and emotion, we presented Mr. Chong with a challenge. His task was very simple. He just simply needed to get a horse to walk. But we gave him one rule, and that rule was that he could not touch the horse. No rope, no hands. So he started walking as if the horse was going to follow him. It didn't. So then he goes behind the horse, and he's gesturing awkwardly and giving verbal commands. Nothing. I let this go on for about 10 minutes, and I finally stopped him, and I asked him to think about his daily work life. If he considered what his employees were telling him, not with their words, but with their energy. Was he aware of who needed strong direction, or who needed gentle encouragement, or who just needed to work together side by side? Well, he quickly saw where I was going, and I watched him consider the horse in front of him, and when he was ready, he walked forward, just exuding confidence and kindness, and he gestured in the direction he would like for them to walk, and then he asked with his heart, in the horse's language, the language of Equus, that they walked together. And they did. A few days after he got back to his office, he called me and he said he couldn't stop thinking about his time with the horse. He said it was the best lesson in communication that he had had in his entire career. So you see, it doesn't matter if you're the director of a nonprofit or a parent or the president of a national company. If we're all aware of the emotional language of those around us, we can all have more successful communication. So let's take a second to review. We started out with awareness, moved on to belief, and then communication. And those three things all lead to powerful connections with others. I'd like to leave you with one more story. It's about a boy named Charlie, and we'll call him Charlie. He arrived at our center with a diagnosis of PTSD at the age of 10. He was a victim of heinous abuse. He had been placed in foster care and separated from his siblings. So we introduced Charlie to the leader of our unicorn herd, Buddy. Now, before Buddy became a therapy horse, he had a very similar background as Charlie's, and he still had some physical scars. Well, Buddy just intuitively knows when a child shares those same scars, and he gravitates towards them. One day, Buddy was really upset about something. His head was high, his eyes were wide open, his tail was swishing back and forth, and Charlie arrived for his lesson. So we asked Charlie just to stay behind the gate until we got Buddy settled down. But Charlie stepped forward and he said, "No, I've got this. Please let me help him." Well, he was a very natural horseman despite his young age, and he and Buddy had developed such a strong bond that we decided to let him come on into the gate. So he came in, walked straight over to Buddy's side, took in a deep breath, and as he let all of the air escape from his chest, he pressed his hands into Buddy's side, and he closed his eyes, and he stood there. And after one long, silent moment, Buddy's head lowered, And he breathed out a huge sigh of relief. And then he took his muzzle and he turned around and he placed it right on Charlie's shoulder. You see, Charlie was aware of the outward signs of Buddy's distress, and he was keenly sensitive to the fear that Buddy was feeling inside. And he believed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that if he could just get to Buddy, he could let him know everything was going to be okay. And when he pressed his hands into Buddy's side with his feet firmly grounded, communicating feelings of safety to his horse, he completed that connection. It was one of the most powerful examples of connection that I have ever witnessed. Charlie, Emily, and Luke are just 3 of the children who've had tremendous success at our center. But you guys don't need a horse to enjoy that type of success. You just need to open your eyes to the beautiful world around you and within you. Listen to your personal unicorn and let it remind you to believe in the infinite possibilities of this life. And finally, reach out to someone else in need of a meaningful connection and speak to them from your heart. Now, wouldn't Marco Polo see the beauty in that? Thank you.